Okay, we're back with yet another e-bike. We have kind of an interesting one because it's on the lower price point, but a really competitive price point too. I believe this is, some stores have it for like 800, some have it for 900. So it's like really competitive. There's a lot of like the electric XP, there's the Ratin, which I've reviewed already, and you know, even other Natko bikes themselves. A lot of the Chinese clones, they're all coming in. They found this price point of just under $1,000 is getting a lot of attention. And there's a couple unique factors about this one that I think it's worth talking about. Let's get into it. So the whole time we look at this bike, it's gonna be hard not to compare it to some other bikes. So I'll probably be dropping some other names, and hopefully that'll help you in your quest, because it's stuff that you've been looking at too if you're looking at buying a new e-bike right now. Also, lots of cars coming by, so if the audio in this video is not the best, I do apologize. So let's start with what I care about most, and that's what kind of motor we're working with. It's only a 350 watt, and that might be the biggest downside, because as far as build quality, I'm actually impressed for having the fenders, you know, I bring that up because the Rad Runner, you probably know you have to buy extra fenders. They don't come with the bike. Even just like some smaller features like a seat that releases up. Like for instance on the Ratin 750 I have, you have to take the whole seat off to get to the battery. So some thoughtful stuff in here, you gotta appreciate it. This is an upgraded seat, by the way. The original seat is on the cheaper side, but it would do the job. I wanna get back into talking about the motor, because there's a lot of other e-bikes in this price range where you can get those 500 watts. Some cases, rarely, you can even get the 750 watt. Do I see that as a downside? Yes, but it has its pros, because if this is your first bike, heck, even someone like my dad who owns it, I think he prefers to have something that's not going to be too crazy. And in fact, I think the 350 watt makes it way more fun to pedal, but not as fun to do the throttle mode. So that's kind of the trade-off here. So we got mechanical Shimano instead of Tektro, which is interesting. I would probably have these over the Tektro, like is on the Rad Runner and a couple other e-bikes. Pony derailleur, a decent derailleur. We got our, you know, standard headlight. The battery on here, kind of not the lowest you could get, but definitely not the highest. It's on par with the 350 watt motor. Man, I wish it had a bit bigger of a battery, but it can handle a decent ride. I think roughly about 15 miles of riding, you're probably safe on this guy. It's a 36 volt and with 10 amp hours. The big beefy tires, and that's a big saving grace here because we have no suspension, but I've already given this a spin and it handles cracks. Like, yeah, you're gonna feel it a little bit, but the good news is that those big beefy tires make it a little bit smoother. I'm gonna bring up the Rad Runner again because that's another bike with no suspension that I ride all the time. So you're gonna have no problem unless you're really sensitive to some shaky ground if you're going through some gravel, which brings me to my next point of, you know, you see a fat tire bike here. Is it something you could take on a trail? And I might say very, very light trail. Now, you aren't going to take this on a real mountain bike trail by any means. And it's because, I mean, just look at the geometry. It's more of a cruiser bike style than an actual aggressive mountain bike shape. You're probably not going to want to take it on a mountain bike trail, but it could handle some like gravel paths or some, you know, anything that's not going to have like rocks or roots to go over, and you're going to have fun. The build quality of the frame, it's just totally fine. You know, obviously you can have much better, but you can have a lot worse. And there's less parts to break. So there's a lot of folding ones in this price range. And my biggest fear with those is it's just another thing that could break, that folding mechanism, if you're moving it all the time. that could be detrimental to the whole bike. It's a fun bike to upgrade. As you see, my dad's already gone to town. He's added the mirror, he's got the Cloud 9 seat, he's got the little, I almost called it a fanny pack, phone mount, and it's stocked up. Now, it also has a display that's pretty discreet here. Let's fire it up. Okay. Got all the data you're gonna need. Boom. So let's take it for a spin. Wow, so this is actually my old high school. It's changed so much. They rebuilt this whole building. Kind of crazy. I don't come to my hometown very often. So that was pedaling at a normal speed. One thing that's kind of odd is it displays the current, the wattage that you're sending out. And then when you coast, it switches to show you miles per hour. And every time I've tested this, it's been in the big book. Every time I've tested the speed at a casual pace without giving it all I have, it does a consistent 20 miles per hour, which is right on par with a Class 1 e-bike. All right, another plus of this bike is that there is a throttle. It's a thumb throttle right here, which is not something I'm used to on e-bikes. Usually it's a twist throttle. So let's see how that works. So this is just coasting, going slightly downhill at like 6 miles per hour, and we'll just give it the thumb. It's fun not having to pedal. Okay, put a couple good miles on it. I actually found a little off-roading spot. I didn't have the camera out, but it really could handle some bumps without like, it's more absorbent than I would have thought. So that's another plus for this. The beefy tires do a good job here. I like them. So it's time for some final thoughts, I think. Really, to me, the biggest appeal to this is actually what some people might find as like a negative, and that's the slow motor. And I think there's a type, and I think my dad would be in that category. You know, he's had a couple of surgeries. He doesn't want something that's gonna go crazy off-road. He wants something that he can sit on, get some good exercise, and this is perfect. I would never recommend like the Rad Runner or the Electric XP really for those type of people, because that's like it's almost more, those are more mopeds than bikes, and this is a little more bike. The pedal, like I said, is just fun. You can get up to those speeds quick. I mean, you know, on your own pace with the pedal, and it's not a lot of work, but you still feel like you're getting exercise. But then if you're tired or you can't ride anymore, you just switch right over to the thumb throttle and you can get home. So that's another great appeal to this. And it's not like other bikes can't do that, but with the beefier motor, you know, there's horror stories of people with the 750 watt and even some with the 500 watt that are torqued up, and you end up doing a wheelie out the gate if you're not comfortable, because the throttle has so much power. Whereas this one is really safe and can get up to speed nice. Again, this is also only like $800 you can find it for, sometimes a little more, which is a pretty good price point, especially if you don't want a folding bike. And again, myself and my father, we're bigger guys, we're tall, we're a little beefy, and this can handle a big guy, and that's another great appeal to it. I am scared when there's a folding mechanism that I'm gonna break it, where this is just one thick piece of aluminum here. Now take that as you will, maybe those are all negatives for you and now you know not to get it, but I don't think you'll be disappointed with this bike. unless you are a speed demon, because you're not. It maxes out at 20, and I tried even just pedaling a little harder. The controller, which I think is down, this box is the controller, I believe. It just probably has class 1 regulations to keep it out. I bet you can unlock it from the manufacturer, just like you can with the electric XP and a couple other bikes that are imported. So you could probably get a little more speed out of this guy, but don't quote me on that. I haven't reached out to Natko to try to get that. Plus, I don't think my dad frankly wants it. He loves this bike. He wanted me to come check it out. I agree, it's fun. Another thing I want to talk about is Natko. They are all about budget e-bikes. My mom has one, my dad has one, and I think they're just a great way to put your foot in the door with e-bikes. I mean, if you want to spend a little more, I'd actually probably steer you more towards like rad power bikes, because I think the build quality is a little bit better, but it costs a little more. So if you're on the edge, you don't want to spend the money, give Natko a try. Eco Trick, they're all made by the same factory in China. But there's some good deals for Natkos here and there. So take that as you will. I hope this helped, because I know there was not a lot of YouTube videos about this when we were looking at it from my dad. So now you know. Any questions, I'd be happy to answer. I think I want to reiterate that it is perfect for someone like my dad, someone older who wants to get into e-bikes, doesn't want to spend a lot of money. It's almost the perfect bike for that. If you are a little younger, maybe you want a little more speed, I'd go back to looking at the Rattan 500, 750, or even electric XP, because I still think there's a reason why those bikes are so popular, and it's because they have speed and they are fun. But they're not really great for pedaling, whereas this is maybe my favorite bike to pedal on that I've rode as far as e-bikes go. So yeah, hopefully that helps, and I appreciate you watching. Let me know if you need to, let me know if I can help you answer any of your questions. Thanks for watching. That was the worst ending ever. But I'll probably just leave it in there. All right, whatever. Bye.